Week 16 of the NFL season kicks off tonight, so we're going to make our picks for every game today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100.
Joe, happy National Ian Rappaport sticks his foot in his mouth again, licking boots for future intel day to you. Aaron Rodgers returned faster from his Achilles injury than anybody ever has. Got put on the active roster, while Aaron Rodgers himself is telling everybody that he will not play. Cannot play.
So somebody got bumped off of the Jets roster.
To be medically cleared at this point. And yet we go on NFL Network to talk about how he successfully returned from his Achilles injury faster than anyone ever has.
Yeah, the corresponding move there is the real disappointment. Somebody's going to get bumped off of an NFL roster for this formality.
Nick Bawden, one of like three Jets that's like in the top 10 in Pro Bowl holding at their respective position, has been cut.
Yeah, that's cool.
For Aaron Rodgers
really cool
to work out with the team for the next few weeks so that it galvanizes a 5-9 program.
Yeah, well, okay.
We'll talk more about the Jets later. But we have a full slate of games. No more bye weeks. We did this last week. We had a full 16-game slate. And, Joe, all you needed to make up all the ground that you've been missing all season long was to have a 16-game schedule to pick from. You successfully have come all the way back in 1 week. You've trailed for 3 months in the pick'em. And you went different on 4 games, and you got all 4 correct last week. That brings both of our respective records. We each have 135 correct hits and 92 losses. So 135. So I'm not a math guy. Are you?
Oh, it's my forte for sure.
So what's that percentage?
But 60.72%.
Did you actually do it?
No, I did just in my head.
It's 60%. We're both correctly picking 60% of games.
Very good. Very good. And the show's on a heater, right?
The show against the spread has 126. It is hitting 55%, 55.5% against the spread because that went 12-4 last week. So there's a methodology if you're new. If it's week 16 and this is the first time you're doing a Thursday show, we rate all the players on all the rosters. That gives like roster rankings with a numerical value. We've calculated a way in which that works to calculate spreads, and then we use that spread and foil it versus the FanDuel Sportsbook spread and determine which way we're going to lean on the FanDuel lines, and that picks the spread. So there's no real thought process other than the entire foundation work we did all summer long and have been doing and updating all season long, in which we're familiar with and well-versed in all the rosters and all the players and their performances on all 32 teams. Tape don't lie. Shall we?
Let's do it, man.
All right. Our first game is tonight. The New Orleans Saints traveling west to play the Los Angeles Rams. These two teams, it always seems like something weird happens when they play each other. The Rams are favored at home by 4.5. The Saints are coming off of a convincing win over the New York Giants. The Rams are coming off of their 8-point win against the Washington Commanders, also at home.
I'm going with the Rams. Short week at home. Big playoff implications for both teams here. I just have a little bit more faith in operationally what the Rams have. I think they're a better coached team. I think they get the win, short week, home. You know my formula.
I have learned my lesson. Even if I thought New Orleans was going to win,
You
I
should
will not
definitely
pick
pick the
against
Saints.
Joe Marino on Thursday. That's it. I'm just going to fall in line on Thursdays. I don't think we've been different on a Thursday game all season long, and I've got it right.
Would you pick the Saints if I picked the Rams? Would you go
No.
different here if it wasn't that? All right, so it's the right pick.
I could see the pathway for the Saints winning, but I am compelled to pick the Rams. I think the Rams are an exponentially better coach team, and I think that's going to make all the difference. I know the Saints are still a little banged up. They get some guys back this week. I think Olave's back this week, but regardless, just case in point, we were different last week when the Chargers and Raiders played, and the Raiders scored 63 points, and you got that one. The next time that we were different on Thursday night was when the Bengals and Ravens played, and I picked the Bengals, and that's when Joe Burrow threw a touchdown pass and then left for the rest of the season, and he checked out. The week before that, I picked the Bears, and the Panthers lost by a field goal to Chicago. The week before that, I picked Tennessee to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and you picked Pittsburgh, so I missed that one as well. We're up to week 6, week 5, week 3. Yeah, every time we have been different on Thursday, I've got it wrong. So I'm not doing it anymore. All that to say, our Rams house. Show has the spread is at 4.5 on FanDuel. The show rankings have it at 6.5. So the show is on the Rams minus 4.5. 2 Saturday games, Joe. Speaking of the Bengals, who we just mentioned, they are favored by 1.5 points on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are being led by Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
I like the Bengals in this one, who are being led by Jake Browning at quarterback. I just think there's a little magic to what's going on. 3 in a row, right? With Jake Browning, Steelers have lost 4 in a row to bad teams. I feel like they're kind of coming off the rails here. I think Cincinnati takes care of this one.
I agree with you. You are cognitive and aware of Jamar Chase and his status. Has the AC joint sprain, I believe is what they formally diagnosed that as. And whether he plays or not, I just think Pittsburgh is so inept offensively that I have no reason to believe that Mason Rudolph's going to be the button that you push. Like there's a toxicity there with George Pickens, which I know does not surprise you in any way, shape, or form.
Heard about it, yeah.
So and you mentioned the losing streak. They went from what? They were 7-3 to now 7-7
with horrible losses. The Patriots, the Cardinals.
Yeah. I don't see any way in which Pittsburgh pulls out of the tailspin against a red-hot Cincinnati team that's got a backup quarterback playing but confident. The show has it as Cincinnati, excuse me, I marked it wrong. Cincinnati -3. So the show is also on Cincinnati to cover the 1.5 spread on the road.
All right.
Joe's Bills circling the wagons in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, or I guess technically, what is it? Where
Inglewood?
They play? Inglewood, yeah. The Chargers, led by Easton Stick, another game with a backup quarterback playing. The Bills are favored on FanDuel by 12.5 points. Joe, we're both picking the Bills. I think we can get that part of this out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
The show has it as Bills -9. So the show has the Chargers covering the very large 12.5 point spread. This may be a lethal backdoor cover candidate.
Yeah. There's some tough dynamics for the Bills, obviously, but yeah, I think they win the game.
It's a short week, right, for Buffalo versus the Chargers. The Chargers get a couple days extra rest. You get the fired coach bump at their disposal. East Coast team traveling west. Although I do think what time's that game played? 8:00?
8:00.
That does you some favors, right? As far as your body clock and the travel, you get a little extra time to get acclimated. So, yeah, we both like the Bills, but the Chargers to cover possibly with the backdoor. I would not put any real money on that 12.5-point spread, although it's very easily possible that the Bills, with the way they're playing right now, just absolutely boat race them, Joe.
All right, the Sunday games are coming up. We've got the Thursday and Saturday games out of the way, so stick with us. But, folks, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a ton of different things that you can bet on, including spreads, player props, over, unders, and more. So you're watching all these games, right? It's holidays this week. You want to have a little bit more fun? Get in on the player props. That's where I've really found my success this year on FanDuel, and it certainly makes it super exciting to watch the games when you have a little something riding on it. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
What a weird game this is. Colts at Falcons. Arthur Smith is, Joe, he wants you to know he is willing to die to figure out how to fix this offense while we give Jonnu Smith and Tyler Algier all of our touches.
I'd say that's a horrible way to go. I think your priority should be bigger in life, Arthur Smith. But, you know, glad you're committed to the cause.
I want to spend all week thinking about how to take my best players and use them to distract the other team so that I could give them to my 6th and 7th best skill players. But they're at home. They desperately need this win as things currently stand, now sitting at 6-8 in the NFC South. We've already picked the Saints to lose. They are not that far off from redemption, but they desperately need a win against a Colts team that very suddenly is tied in a 3-way tie for first place, the AFC South. So a lot of the respective divisional aspirations on the line here. The show has it, Atlanta's favorite on FanDuel by 1.5. The show also has it as Atlanta -1.5. So we're going to ride Atlanta. Quarterback change, I think that does provide a spark for the Falcons. I'm going with the Falcons with Taylor Heineke. I do think that there's just a rigidness with Desmond Ridder that Heineke, he does this often. He does this annually. He gets a chance to come in, plays a little frenetic like Gardner Minshew does. So I'll take the home team, who's more desperate, in my mind, in Atlanta.
I was sitting here thinking, if you want to lean into the more desperate team, it is Atlanta. I think I'm going to lean into the team that's played better this season, and it's the Colts. They score. They're opportunistic on defense. They run the ball. I'm riding with the Colts in this one. I would love for the Falcons to win. I just can't trust.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah.
Right.
So go Falcons. I think the Colts are going to win the game.
Our next 1:00 kick is in Nashville, and it's the Seattle Seahawks, fresh off of a massive win on Monday Night Football to stem the bleeding of their season and potentially save their season.
Yeah.
Against Philadelphia. Seattle at Tennessee. Will Levis got banged up at the end of, or in the midst of last week's game. This is a really weird matchup, Joe. The show has it Seattle covering the 2.5-point spread. So the show likes Seattle. I could see either team winning this game, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. And I think Seattle's got to be loving what's going on with Green Bay right now as you talk about this NFC wildcard race. It's going to kind of open the door as they were slumping. So did the Packers, who we thought could run away with it. And the Vikings certainly haven't been able to stay hot either. So that's opened the door for Seattle. I know that you shouldn't be helping me with picks because we're competing against each other, but like,
well, we're also trying to do the show. Having success is beneficial for everybody.
Right. So let me ask you this, because I know you've watched Tennessee a little bit more recently. What do you think the run defense is like? What do you think the run defense is? I didn't mean that like that, but like, what do you think of the run defense?
Well, Jeffrey Simmons was banged up. Taylor Tart got cut. And They get some young, motivated, physical guys up front. I'll say that.
Can they
some speed
bottle
at
up Ken
linebacker.
Walker and Zach Charbonnet? Those guys can run loose, man.
Yeah.
Weapons in the pass.
And Seattle's got like big bodied leaners up front, right? On the inside.
They got some penetration guys too, some dynamic edge guys, but yeah, I think for their inside, Leonard Williams has been nice for them, man. I'm going Seattle. I think they got a little something to them right now.
I'm going Seattle as well. I think they have enough different ways to get after Tennessee defensively. And then the Will Levis injury, obviously, he changed the dynamics of what that passing offense looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to say, even if he plays and he's not 100%, is he still able to give you the outside of structure, but then also hold the ball and rip the ball down the field elements of his game? And I just don't trust those wide receivers in Tennessee outside of DeAndre Hopkins. So I'll go Seattle with you as well. The show, we're all in on Seattle. Detroit -3 in Minnesota against the Vikings, led by Nick Mullins. Surely Detroit doesn't lay an egg here and play with their food and we just move on with our lives, right?
Right. Yeah, Lions.
Hold on, I'm filling out playoffpredictors.com as we go with the picks. Detroit's favored by 3 on FanDuel. Show has it at Detroit -6.5. So the show likes Detroit to cover the 3-point spread. Jets favored at 3 points at home against the Commanders, Joe.
Nightmare game to pick. What are we doing here?
0 confidence points either way, right?
Brother. Because the Commanders are just playing so bad. In the Jets, too. Like, I think you just try to lean into what's the best thing about any one of these teams? It's the Jets defense.
Jets defense.
So they have the best thing, and they're at home. Just give me the Jets.
Right. I'm with you. And my favorite element of this is Washington is the 32nd ranked defense, and the Jets are the 32nd ranked offense. So something's got to give. Man. Which side do you trust to make enough plays to swing the game? I think the Jets. I do think this is a game that you're leery of the Jets' offensive line because we had Billy Turner and Jake Hansen were like starters on the right side of that offensive line last week for the Jets.
Didn't give them a chance. They couldn't operate.
Correct.
Literally couldn't operate.
But I think Washington's edge guys, if you can go heavy personnel, if you're the Jets, you can get double teams inside. You should run the ball 40 times and grind out a 13-6 or 13-10 win. That's what I think they should try to do. Now, the show has it as Jets -7. So, the show likes the Jets to win and to cover the 3-point spread as well at home. Packers. Our silly little Green Bay Packers. Falling apart at the absolute worst time. They get the Panthers, who are off of their second win of the season in the Queen City. Dave Tepper has brought the Packers to Carolina, to Charlotte.
Right. Brought the Falcons last week, and I think about 14 people were in the stands for it. We think it's going to happen on Christmas Eve. 50 cents to go to an NFL football game. See Bijan Robinson fumble.
Yeah, my fantasy team advanced to the semifinals in spite of the 7-for-11 effort that Bijan gave us with a fumble last week.
The least surprising thing in the history of the world is learning that Bijan Robinson is on your fantasy team.
Oh yeah, we overspent on him too. Yeah. I got the wrong rookie back. I should have got.
Now I understand the venom behind Kyle's Arthur Smith disdain.
Arthur Smith, yeah. I'm sitting here wondering, like, dude. Now I did get Tyler Algier off waivers this week, so maybe I'll plug him in so I can get his 15 for 40 and no touchdowns.
Boy, you see that one touchdown?
Yeah. I'm going Packers to rebound after this ugly loss that they suffered last week. To stave off elimination, really effectively going to the brink of elimination. I think they beat the Panthers.
Yeah, Packers.
Okay. Packers favored by 4.5 on FanDuel. Show has it at Packers -6. So the show is on the Packers to cover the 4.5-point spread. Joe, this one's fascinating. A couple of backup quarterbacks in the AFC wildcard playoff race. You got to be happy somebody's losing a game here.
Brother, I've been through the scenarios a million times. The wild card stuff is just too complicated for the Bills. They got to get to 11
the Browns?
wins.
So Rich Eisen did the playoff clinching scenarios on his show earlier this week. And for the Browns, it was like Browns win and then it was like a CVS receipt of all of the possibilities, but it's like 3 teams have to win or lose in a combination, and there was like 15 of those scenarios for Cleveland. But it's not just as cut and dry as you win and you're going to clinch a playoff spot. They are in Houston against the Texans. Neither team has their starting quarterback. Cleveland has Joe Flacco, and the Texans have Case Keenum, who engineered the late game comeback against the Titans last week. CJ Stroud set to miss another week in concussion protocol after what was a really nasty concussion he took against the Jets. So, 9-5 Cleveland at 8-6 Houston. This is the game that I'm going to be watching the 1 o'clock slate.
Really?
There's a lot. There's a lot. What else is on the 1 o'clock slate that you're like?
I don't know. I haven't planned my viewing yet, and maybe this will be the 1 o'clock game. I've never thought about it until this moment. Yeah, I guess it has to be. Why don't you make your pick? I have some convictions about this one.
So Houston's not just banged up at quarterback; they're banged up in the skill group, and I think Cleveland's defense really has an opportunity to compress Houston's offense. So if you told me Houston scored 20 points, I'd be surprised. So now the question is, can Joe Flacco, with Amari Cooper and the running back stable that they have and the emergence of David Njoku, do I think they can score 20 plus points? Yes, I do. I'm picking the Browns to win in Houston against the Texans. I just think that the Texans are too young of a team that's too banged up right now to survive what they're working with.
See it the same way. I got the Browns winning this game. That defense will travel just fine to Houston. I think they get the dub. The show has
Houston, actually.
Okay.
The show likes Houston.
Right.
This is one of those ones that feels out of line, but the show has gotten the last laugh on a few of those. So we'll see if this is the latest example of the show showing both of us up.
All right. The 4 Eastern slate, and of course the prime time. We got 3 Monday games. We're getting to all that here in just a second. But folks, I am obsessed with DoorDash. The convenience is unmatched, and I'm probably going to be using it this weekend, right? The Bills are playing Saturday night, Christmas Eve. You think I'm going to be cooking anything or getting to the grocery store? No, we're going to order DoorDash pregame and enjoy food from our favorite local restaurant dropped off right at our front door. Probably going to be Smoke Pit. I'm a big fan. They got great smoked wings. Their sausage is unbelievable. Great sides, the barbecue slaw. Love it. And I love that about DoorDash is I can get food from all of my favorite local restaurants. They bring me groceries right to my front door, just like I pick them up off the shelf for myself. You can also get a snack, like say you need an energy drink and a Slim Jim. They'll bring that to your front door. They save you time. That's what I love about it. And I got a deal here for you. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Again, that's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms apply.
Perhaps the weirdest 4 o'clock game that you could possibly draw up is the fact that Tampa is hosting Jacksonville in a 4 o'clock game. And I'm not one to complain about distribution to have a more evenly distributed schedule.
Yeah.
Nashville's further in a different time zone, right? Why is Tennessee playing at 1?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Or Minnesota playing at 1? That would seem like, I don't know. I won't argue. I'm sure there's some optics there with networks and games and all that stuff. So Jacksonville at Tampa. Tampa, a little bit of a heater. They have a chance to run away with this division now if they take care of business and win some of their more recent games or the upcoming games on the schedule. Trevor Lawrence left the game against Baltimore with a concussion. His status, it was described yesterday as in concussion protocol, but progressing. They're pretty mum on whether or not he's going to play. I think the spread reflects that he's not going to play because it has Tampa minus 1.5. Is this a if Trevor plays, then we pick Jacksonville type game?
I'm not sure, man. I kind of like Tampa at home. I think they're playing better football. Obviously, huge win in Green Bay. Baker played really, really well. I think Jacksonville's defense matches up well. So I will give them credit there. I actually really like a lot about Jacksonville on the defensive side of the football. But I mean, even with Trevor Lawrence being healthy, he hasn't played his best football this year. He's fumbling the ball like crazy. He doesn't have Christian Kirk. He got injuries on the O-line. I kind of like Tampa at home.
I'm riding with you. The show likes Jacksonville. The show views this as a push game, but I'm riding with you. I think Tampa's got the right stuff right now. I think they're playing really good football. They're getting a lot more production out of Rashad White recently too, which I think gives them that added bonus and balance offensively. So we'll go down together. Our Bucs this weekend.
Go Bucs.
Bears at home against the Cardinals, favored by 4.5 points. The show likes Chicago minus 6.5. So the show is on the Bears to cover 4.5 points spread on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's a shame they blew that one last week because they've been playing a lot better lately here. I think that the dynamics here that I like are it's the Bears at home. It's a team from Phoenix, Arizona, going to Chicago in late December, right? That's a tough situation for them. There's certainly a path for Arizona. I think Chicago wins this one. Feels like
the best thing. I think the best thing that Chicago has going for them is the fact that their run defense is yielding 3.5 yards per carry against Arizona's rushing offense, because that's where Arizona has had success.
Yeah.
So I think the offense has come alive. I think Justin Fields, this is one of those games where he can win outside of structure. And I think Chicago can do enough to stave off what Arizona has done well this season, and Chicago will win the game. So I'm with you there. The Cowboys, fresh off of their wagons being circled last weekend.
I like that, yeah.
By the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Now get a chance to get another AFC East trip in. They go to Miami to play the Dolphins. This line moved. This line opened at Dallas minus 1.5, and it has since moved to Miami minus 1.5.
Mm-hmm. It's moved in my opinion too. I think 2 weeks ago I might have convinced myself that Dallas is going to win this game, but the more the season moves on, the more we learn that Dallas is just not a team that plays well on the road. They're averaging 40 points per game at home, averaging like 21 on the road, and they're not competitive on a lot of these road games. You think about San Francisco, Philly, Arizona, Buffalo. Those weren't competitive games for them. I think Miami's defense is playing hot. I know they have injuries, but I'm impressed with their ability to overcome a lot of their injuries. I think they're explosive on offense, obviously. I think they can run the ball. This is a better rushing offense like throughout the course of the year than Buffalo, right? You would think that they have a great opportunity to, take it to them in ways that Buffalo did as well. I think this is a game Miami wins. I'm picking Miami. I think Dallas is keenly aware of the narratives about them that they can't play away from AT&T Stadium, right? They know that. They know that there's a lot of questions about them. I'm not sure it's going to matter. I think the Dolphins win this game.
Well, and ironically, that narrative still exists with Miami and not beating good teams. So both of these teams have kind of the chip on their shoulder coming into this game that they need to dispel the narrative around their football team. I think there's more in the way of context around some of the games that Miami has lost against good teams. What Miami can't afford in this game is what I've learned about the Dolphins this season is Mike McDaniel's game plans. If he has to change it on the fly, it's where it feels like that can be a little bit delayed and slow to happen. Where the Tennessee game, Connor Williams and Tyreek Hill go out, and it changes how you have to execute your motions, and then you don't have Tyreek Hill, so it changes the spacing of the defense. And they were slow to adjust. When they incur a significant loss in the midst of a game for what they game planned in all week, there have been times where Mike McDaniel has held a guy out, even though he could probably technically have gone because they prepped to play without that player. So there's this kind of specificity of the way that they game plan on any given week that if Miami loses a key player early, look for that to be like a troublesome catalyst. But you mentioned the optics of both of these teams, and Dallas doesn't handle motion well defensively. Dallas struggles in run defense, and John Hankins has a high ankle sprain. He's probably not going to go. Mm-hmm. Their linebacker core has been really shredded with injuries. I think I'm also on you on Miami, but I do think this is closer to a coin toss game than to be the latest, like, Dallas gets boat raced on the road. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game.
One other random nugget on this game, and I don't know the data behind this, but Dallas people will tell you that they don't play well on grass. So this game is being played on grass. So if that's a thing, that's another obstacle for Dallas to overcome. But they got to get that stuff figured out, man. These are weird. Like, you want to be a really good team in the NFL, you got to be able to win on the road. You got to be able to play on grass. You can't be talking about weather being a problem when it's upper 40s with a drizzle late in the game and like winds that topped out at 9 miles an hour, dude. Like, get out of here with that stuff. That's just soft.
Yeah. I watched a team from warm weather go up and get pelted with snowballs for 60 minutes last year, and they gave a really competitive effort, So
right, you overcame it.
Didn't just lay down and die because it's a little mist. So Denver on Sunday Night Football is hosting the New England Patriots. Joe, Denver. It's a 6.5 point spread in favor of Denver on FanDuel. The show has it as Denver minus 5.5. So the show is going to take the Patriots to cover 6.5. And if there was ever a game, Russ has been turning the ball over recently. What's the only way this stays that kind of game?
Wait a minute. Don't get me going here, because I'm not big on Denver. Like, I think they're a very flawed operation. The whole thing. They can't stop the run. Right. I think Russ just plays goofy, and that just might be enough for the Patriots to win this game. So I know I really quick snapped it and said Denver, but if I give this a little bit more thought, I can find the path for the Patriots.
So can I. I'm picking Denver, but I would not be surprised at all if they cover the spread or if there's a field goal game.
100%. I would pick the Patriots to cover for sure.
How fun would that be? In the race for last in the AFC East, both the Jets and the Patriots win this week.
They can have that race for the rest of their lives for all I care.
Right. Stay down there. The Chiefs at home playing the Raiders, fresh off the Raiders scoring 63 points. I can tell you firsthand the worst possible thing that could happen is you score 9-10 touchdowns in a game and then go play a divisional rival on the road. Don't give me the Chiefs by a bunch of points.
Yeah, Chiefs.
Chiefs by a bunch. The show has this Chiefs covering the 10-point spread at home as well. The New York Giants visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the Chiefs game was the 1:00 Sunday or Monday Christmas Day game. The 4:00 Monday Christmas Day game is Eagles hosting Giants. Eagles favored by 11.5 points. I'm glad you and I don't have to worry about that line because it feels like a weird one with how Philly's playing right now.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is I like Philadelphia to win the game.
Not committed enough, Jalen Hurts said. Hey, do you realize how big of a statement that is? You have Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and Darius Slay and Kevin. You're telling me this team's got commitment issues? Man, that's a big shot at your veteran leaders, of which you have a ton of. Yeah, but Eagles.
It's good for Hurts for speaking up because they're obviously not playing to their potential.
And he's part of it. He's not playing well either.
Correct. He's not. He's objectively playing bad in some
right.
ways. And for Sirianni to come out after the game on Monday night and say the 2-minute offense situation that you put yourself in, you were literally just calling a play to try to draw a DPI, and you weren't trying to get gains offensively. You were trying to draw a flag. Shouldn't
kind of messed up. But I will say that on some of these third and longs, sometimes I think the dumbest thing you can do on 3rd and long, I think, is just do a little run the ball and get some yards. There are too many ways to get defensive penalties that give you an automatic first down that you should do some of that.
Illegal
but
contact.
Also try to
pass interference.
Pass, big fan of that.
The passer,
you can get sacked. You can get sacked, and if they fall on you the wrong way, you get a first down.
Right,
brother.
The show has Philly covering 11.5 points against the Giants. I don't have a lot of confidence in that one, but
No.
I don't have to. I just pick the games. Our last game, San Francisco. This is the Monday Night Football game on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
San Francisco hosting Baltimore, the two current 1 seeds in the NFL playing against one another in prime time. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. Here's your final gift for the day.
Get the kids
You
to
get this-
sleep, right?
Right.
8 o'clock, you sit
early.
down in front of the right, watch this game. I got the Niners at home, man. Niners
I
at
also
home.
have
They're wagging right now, right?
They are fully rolling right now.
They're going to be tested in some unique ways here. Ravens defense is a nice matchup, but like Ravens are more like getting by, and the 49ers are boat racing teams.
I could see San Francisco's defensive front overwhelming Baltimore's offensive line. And I know Baltimore is very diverse with their personnel and they're capable of running the ball and all that, but I just think San Francisco is going to overtake them up front. The show, for the record, has Baltimore covering 5.5 points. It only favors San Francisco by 4.
I feel like the show's in its own world this week in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's different on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 16 games than you and I in consensus. And then there's other games where we were not on the same page, and it's not on the same page with one of us. So
we just got one different this week, you and I. That's it.
Yeah,
only
Atlanta,
one
Indy.
different. So someone will have the lead.
Indy. That's right.
And you got to go down with Arthur Smith.
You're hungry with it. You're hungry for it. I can tell.
It's all about I'm chasing you all year, man, in all facets. You know, we're trying to get there.
Trying to chase him down. We'll see if it happens. Yeah. It's let's hope it's not foreshadowing for what happens on the actual football fields. No. Okay, so we're done here. We have some different programming to close the week. We didn't solicit takes on takes for a reason, because we're not doing takes on takes. Instead, you and I, this weekend marks the end of the Pro Bowl ballots. We will be providing our respective Pro Bowl ballots for the AFC and NFC to bring this week to a close. So you have that to look forward to. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Make it a great rest of your day. We're out of here. Peace.